All right, so it is working, at least on the AM band. I can't really get it to receive much on the other bands. It maybe has a really bad misalignment or something. I could barely get WWV on 10 megahertz, barely. And when I used a function generator, I went through all the bands up to 100 megahertz, and every single band can receive, but they're very, very low. So I think what I want to do is tune it up a bit. There are still a couple capacitors that need to be replaced, and maybe I should do that first, but I am an anxious person, so I can always do that later and adjust it again. I don't think they're too far out, probably. Well, I don't think they're critical. I think they'll add noise, but I don't think it'll add any problems with the tuning. All right, so in order to tune this thing, do an IF alignment, I have two documents. I have a Hallicrafters document, and I have the SAM's photo fact. And the Hallicrafter one is very, very detailed. The SAM's photo fact is nice because it's concise. I'll probably follow both. So the first thing we need to do is to figure out how to go about it. So you need to inject a signal. Now, both the Hallicrafter and the SAM's photo fact says that you need to inject signals with a 0.1 microfarad capacitor at various locations. And so I kind of cobbled together that, and it was just kind of getting in the way. So I went ahead and well, here, let me show you what I built. I don't know if you can see that on you probably can't see that on camera. I built this little box, and I'll show you a picture here where you can see the insides. It's just a 0.1 microfarad capacitor inside a box, and put a label on it, so now it looks official, and so I'm going to be using that. So that works out good. I have a nice set of probes here, gravity probes. This one is really, really long, which is nice for, 300-400 volts, right? To reach around and not zap myself. So definitely going to be using that one. And I had to put a new ground lead on it. I didn't have a ground connector on the other end. I've never used this before. I was in a junk pile. And this will come in really handy today. All right, so the other thing that we're going to need to do is monitor things. Basically, we're going to be peaking every single circuit. It says, peak this, peak that, peak, everything goes to maximum. Everything goes to maximum. And so using a digital meter is just not going to work. If you're ever going to maximize something, you really need to use an analog meter. And I've mentioned this before, so I'm going to be using my my analog meter. And we're basically, you can see these yellow and white wires. We're basically looking at the speaker output, right? So we're just maximizing the throughput of the system. We're going to be injecting somewhere inside and then measuring what comes out the other end and maximizing it, okay? So let's go ahead and show you a demonstration of that. Let me connect things here. All right, you may have noticed another thing that I did was I got new light bulbs. So I have a full complement of light bulbs on the front panel now, which is nice. They're number 47 light bulbs, which were extremely common, but hard to find these days. But luckily the junk store had a few. They were kind of in a strange location, but I found them, and I bought whatever they had. I think it was 5 of them, so I needed to replace 2 of them in my radio. So that's good. All right, so now we have a signal being injected. Now the manual says inject a 455 kilohertz signal, and so that's what we're doing. And so we will come up here. Let's see. Well, let me rearrange this a bit. All right. So I've got the meter up at the top there, and I've got the signal being injected. So let's see if we can. I don't know if that meter's too bright to see or not, but here, if you see, I'm increasing the volume, and the meter's going up. I'm decreasing the volume, the meter's going down. So this is max volume, and there we go. And then we're supposed to go tweak some of the coils and maximize them. and some are from this side and some are from that side. So yeah, it's gonna be hard to do. So let's take a look at the list here and tell us what it has to offer. Okay, so it says we want to maximize 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So those are the locations of the coils. And now I'm going to read the Hallicrafter manual, and it says we want to align 1, 3, 5, 10, 12, and 14. So they say completely different things. 1, 3, 5. The other one is, gosh, they don't even overlap, unless they're yeah, maybe the locations are different the way they call them out, although I'm not quite sure. I do trust the Sam's photo fact, so let's see if we can at least adjust one of them. Let's see where it says 3, 4, 5. Let's see if 5 does anything, because 5 is right here. And there we go. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, it was basically peaked. It was in a good spot. And it's really hard to see other ones here. Six. That one is 6. Okay, and 6 is on the list, so let's do 6. Probably should be using well, I think this, well, yeah, these are hard to get to. These are hard to get to. All right. I should be using an insulated screwdriver. Let me find one of those. All right. Lighting is really poor over here in this part of the garage. Let me see if I can't get my screwdriver on number 6. And okay. And number 6 is not moving the needle much. A little bit. It was basically in a good adjustment also, so I like it so far. And then the other adjustments are on the other side of the instrument. So I think you get the idea though. It's a matter of peaking the meter every single time you adjust one of these. Peak the meter. Keep changing the ranges on your meter, or change the volume if you need to, or sensitivity if you need to. Sensitivity is not doing anything at all because we're not going through the front end. We're injecting that 455 kilohertz in the detector stage, so it's bypassing all those front end amplifiers which this sensitivity knob adjusts. And so the only thing that's really an adjustment is the volume, which is just controlling the gain of the output stage. So that's not going to really affect the adjustment at all. All right. So I'm going to go through and adjust a few of these and see if I find anything interesting or not. All right, sorry for the camera work here. I'm going to have to do this handheld with my iPhone. So I've discovered a few things. There you can see a wax capacitor there, right in the center of the screen. And down below there's there's one over here, center of the screen. Another wax. Over here is a black, what do they call those things? Black bumblebees, or they're yellow and black. And over here is another one right there. And over here is a one that people have pointed out already. But over on this side, there's a wax right there. And seems like there's another one in here somewhere. Anyway, yeah, there's a bunch that need to be replaced. This is all on the pre-selector, band select section. So that might be why it's deaf at other frequencies, because of these capacitors. So Yeah, see, some have been replaced, like that one's been replaced and that one's been replaced, but not all of them, and probably because it's a darn job getting into these things. So, yeah. Yeah, you can see that guy hiding in there. Yep. These are kind of crusty, don't they? Don't know if they'll adjust or not. Anyway, I think I should replace those before I go any further. I did adjust everything at 455 kilohertz, like it said, and I found nothing wrong at all in the IF section, so it seemed to have been adjusted just right. So I'm thinking somebody has been in here and labeled things and obviously has adjusted it once before after they've replaced all these capacitors. So it's definitely been worked on before, but they only went halfway. The main filter caps weren't replaced, and that's very odd. That's like the first thing you do, so I don't know why other things were replaced. But since we're here, the other interesting thing is this is not on the schematics of anything I've found, and that is the input here. So I've got a antenna connector that looks like it's been replaced. I don't know. Anyway, and then there's a phono jack, which is your phono input from your turntable, and generally that just goes into the circuit. But on this particular beast, it has a impedance matching transformer on it. So yeah, it's isolated, and the phono goes into this impedance matching amplifier and then goes on its merry way. So yeah, pretty strange. Anyway, I need to order some things or go to the junk store. Maybe I can get these at the junk store. But probably better order new ones.